Okay, and I think we're live now, hopefully. What else? What else? Okay, I read some of the manga a few years ago. It wasn't bad, but my goodness, it was so silly I had to turn my brain off. Yeah, this is a pretty good series for that. Uh, I just finished Higurashi. Oh, cool. Very nice. Uh, just read Max. It's silly, but in a good way, in my opinion. Okay. So, what will be happening is that I'll be discussing, like I said, like I told A Fisher, pretty much everything I remember and found interesting about that manga, right? I'm going to be discussing a lot of things after the anime, well, obviously, and this stream won't be just about Monster Musume. Just like with my podcasts, I'm going to start off talking about it, but then we're going to progress to other anime I found interesting. Okay? So without further ado, let's start. First, if you didn't think the bird girl was the best, I can't trust you. Then don't trust me because Sue was clearly best girl. So you're just wrong. Like I love Papi, but Sue was definitely best girl. Now, continuing. One of the things I really like about this anime and manga is obviously the characters. Like you can see right now on stream, they're all pretty distinct and unique and very interesting. Not just in terms of designs, but their personalities are pretty much impossible to like confuse with one another. So they're all very distinct and remember and memorable. So much so that anyone that has watched the anime or read the manga will pretty much be like if they remember anything, it will probably be then, you know? Uh I remember buying the first volume at a store and didn't know it was ecchi. How? I remember how like the cover for the first volume looked like. It was literally Mia, the snake girl, right? The Lamia, with her tail coiled around the protagonist, with her arms up in the air, just displaying, putting on display and focus like her massive boobs. In this exact outfit. How did you pick that up at the store and didn't know it was etchy? I I don't understand. They actually are pretty close to their their adjacent too, so I like that a fair bit. Yeah, it's an interesting thing about Monster Musume that for the most part, magic does not exist. Like even species that are more magic focused in generally in fiction like elves and vampires and stuff like that, they're pretty much stripped of their magical abilities and they're just pretty much left with whatever superhuman abilities they have because of their connection to their animal. It's a good series to learn about like interesting facts about biology, especially because in the author's own words, he to write a chapter he pretty much just go on Wikipedia, like Google some interesting animal facts and then make a whole chapter around that. Actually, why does almost every girl have a massive wreck? The author's preference? Like I think that's pretty easy to guess, honestly. Like even some of the girls that have smaller chests, right? Especially far into the manga, the author explains that their species generally does have massive breasts, but that those specific characters do not. So yeah, the author definitely made a world, like a whole world, to cater to his tastes. One of the first anime I ever watched, and proud of it. You should be. It's a very good one. Though, if you don't mind, we're going to be going to spoiler territory. Like, we're going to cover the manga, not just the anime. I think the most fun part is when they ask things we don't think about, like how would a snake girl use the bathroom? Yeah, I remember that chapter, man. Man, that I looked at that page for a solid minute when it appeared. I was like, what the fuck? Why would you even? Uh, I'm talking about in the manga, my dude. Like in the manga, like it is explained that most monster species abide by the author's preferences. So even like you said, a more fish-like or reptile-related species, which logically shouldn't have breasts of any kind, they have massive wrecks. Why? Because the author wrote it so. Like those are the rules he established. But anyway, one thing that I really like about Monster Musume is that it's very easy. Like, obviously, not with some of the best examples of this genre. For example, Data Live and like similar anime. But one problem that they have with harem anime like this, where pretty much every single arc introduces a new girl, is that the other ones fall kind of by the wayside, or they just become like love interests, kind of fighting for the protagonist. They don't have any further development of their own stories, right? And that's something very good about Monster Musume, both in the anime and especially in the manga, is that they, for the most part, keep all the girls relevant all throughout, you know? So each girl has their chapter to, like, their arc to shine, and even in the arcs that aren't specifically about that girl, they do get a good participation. You know, they do get a moment in the spotlight. Like an important role in that story. Oh, hello, Takasu. We need more snake lol. Yeah, that we do. Fortunately, if you read the manga, you will know that there are a lot of snake lollies actually in Monster Musume. Unfortunately, only Mia appears in the anime, so we didn't get to see that animated. But just go read the manga. There are plenty of like snake lollies there. And that segues a lot. That segues really well, actually, into another thing I wanted to talk about. Not only are the characters like important even in other characters' arcs, but they also are developed. You know, even after their arc with the protagonist. Again, if you read the manga, you know that there are various arcs dedicated to, for example, Mia, where she has to like literally go back to her own land in order to participate in an important rite. We find out in the manga who Sue's mother is, right? There's a whole other arc dedicated to further developing Centauria and like the mermaid girl, Papi, etc. It's really nice that the manga doesn't just gives them an arc and then no, this is established. Now they're just here for the fan service, for uh, to be love interest, harem members, right? The manga especially has a lot of attention to again keep the characters relevant in both these ways, in both giving them a participation even in other characters arcs and in further developing them with further arcs of their own, which is really cool. um what else? What else? Now that I think about it, they did stay relevant when I was reading. Yeah, this is something that Kanojo, and 100 Kanojos also. Yeah, that manga is just it's amazing. Like I didn't like it at first. Like what I mean is that I saw the premise and I was like, ugh, another one of those like bullshit deconstructionist like nonsense, right? But then my brother actually, who is a big fan, he said, "Oh no, give it a chance. It's actually really cool. It's actually a really cool Heron story. Not it's not just a parody." And then I did, and yeah, I was completely wrong. That manga is awesome. Uh yeah, shame we didn't get a second season. Would sacrifice most seasonal shonen slop for another season of Musume or interspecies reviewers. Uh, he's saying that you pushed your limit because he probably likes a lot of shonen series, so we're just calling it slop to his face. He probably didn't appreciate that, is what I'm guessing. 100 Girlfriends were so stupid it's fun. Hell yeah. It's a parody, but kind of respects the material parody. Yeah, those are the best ones. 1 second. But yeah, it's just very nice to see how they're treated, how the characters in Monster Musume are treated. And another thing that the manga avoids is like exactly that level of parody of 100 girlfriends, of every single girl that the arc revolves around needs to integrate the protagonist heroine. Like what I'm going to say will probably shock you a lot, but all the girls that are like the anime finished establishing, all the girls that joined the protagonist heroine by the end of the anime, those are the only girls that like stay in the heroine. No further girls are added to the protagonist heroine aside from those ones. And how does this work then? Well, if you've seen the anime, you remember the arc with the dryads, like the whole arc. Um, we'll get to that in a second. The whole arc with like the dryad that grows into this kaiju that then Su needs to like defeat in a whole ecchi battle. That was awesome. But a lot of arcs work like that. They introduce a girl and that girl is the central point, the central focus of the story, generally from a different monster girl species, since that's kind of the point. But it's nice to see that the a lot of the female characters can have their own stories, their own arcs, without necessarily like needing to fall in love with the protagonist or join his heroine or anything like that. It's just nice to uh, it's just a very interesting way to execute on that premise in a way that doesn't make the story ridiculous, in a way that it makes it easier to exactly keep all the central characters relevant. So I just thought that was really cool. And another thing that the manga does, which I also find really cool, is that after the main ones are introduced, like we actually get to see other romances. Like we don't get that syndrome of, oh, the protagonist is the only one who can get any pussy, right? We see that there are other monster girls out there and they're dating different humans. They're falling in love with different people. They are having their own romance stories. So the fact that the author like did both these things, that not only did he allow uh, arcs, obviously every arc, well, almost every arc includes a different girl and a different girl from a different species. But not only do they not need to fall in love with or join the protagonist heroine, they can have their own romances, which is really cool. Because again, it's the best way to like make to execute this premise for me, because you keep the heroine appeal, because obviously there are a lot of girls who are into the protagonist or are even official parts of his heroine. So you do have that, but you can keep the whole like structure of introducing a different female character every arc and basing the arc around her without needing to bloat the cast of main characters, especially. They are allowed to have their own self-contained stories and even self-contained romances. Because the author realized that this whole will they, won't they bullshit gets kind of annoying after a while. And so he said, okay, the main character's romance may not progress too much, but I'm at least going to give like complete romance stories from time to time with these more like seasonal characters. And you can have more satisfying romance stories that way, even in the heroine anime. Again, without losing the heroine appeal. It's just really cool, I think, uh, how he did that, you know? Um, what else? What else? Oh, and it's really cool that remember how I said that like every character in Monster Musume not only is relevant and keeps being developed, but also has their own role in future arcs. Yeah, another thing that's really cool is that this doesn't limit itself to the main characters, even. Like, obviously, they get most of the attention, but occasionally you even see characters from other arcs, from like uh, past arcs that you thought were just one-offs, you see those characters appear again exactly because they're relevant. Like the author doesn't just forget like characters that could resolve a situation easily. No, he um, addresses that. He even makes them the source of further problems that will result in further arcs, even for those secondary characters that will further develop even then. You know, it's just really cool. Again, this author is just really um, talented. He pretty much solved, especially in the manga, a lot of the complaints that most people have with harem anime of this type. So it was just genius. I really loved how he executed the female characters, which are the most important for this genre. The way he treated them is just really cool. Now to read some comments, since I've been ignoring those for a while. Sorry, I just got too into that whole rant I was doing. What's your opinion of the MC in Monster Musume? Can I be honest? Like he is cool. He does get to have his own moments to shine, and you can kind of see a resemblance of a personality there. But it's clear that the author didn't like give too much of an, how should I say? It didn't give him too much of a focus. It didn't allow him to shine too much as his own character, like the protagonist from 100 Girlfriends does, right? That dude is the man, right? But or Gojo too from a non-Heron series. Like you can make a self-insert like protagonist that still feels distinct, you know. But Monster Musume is just kind of okay. He isn't the worst I've seen, but he definitely didn't get as much development and didn't like become as unique and memorable as some of the female characters. Like the author clearly put a lot of effort into the female characters, which he should. Like obviously that's the point of a Heron series, but in like exchange he really didn't bother too much to make his own protagonist memorable. Heck, the most memorable thing about him is how he is drawn. And that's only memorable because the author gave so little attention, so little importance to the actual protagonist that he uh, is almost never given a face, you know? But anyway, what else? What else? It be like that. Feel free to crap all over Milky Holmes. I don't even know what that is, so sorry, but I can't even comment. He's a heron protag. Sue sucked her dry. God damn it. I've always liked that in harem animes. Sometimes the MC feels like a collector, lol. Almost forgot Musume was a gacha at one point. I didn't even know at all. Like, I only learned that when I began researching for a particular video I plan to upload in the future. But with him is more competent. hmm no, I can definitely understand why you like him. Again, there are some moments that really allow him to shine, and like he does have his own characteristics, which even help to like shape different arcs. Especially a particular one involving cow woman, like the Minotaurs. Oh, that arc was just a trip, man, and it couldn't have been like done the way it was with any other protagonist. So I'll give him that. That arc was really good for his character. um, and I just love that not only does the protagonist know how to cook and is pretty much the main cook in the series, but that's also again not only important to the plot, but a major unique characteristic to him, a major like talent that he has particularly, and that influences the story. That is really cool. Again, I'm not saying that the protagonist is bad. I definitely understand why you like him, but to me he kind of falls in the middle. He isn't the worst harem protagonist I've ever seen, far from the most generic, Jesus Christ, but he definitely doesn't stand out, at least to me. He has some others. So I understand, but respectfully disagree to some extent. Anyway, here an anime get annoying because I know it isn't made for romance, but my goodness, it's annoying to watch the MC fumble constantly like an infinite fumble machine, which again is why having these complete romances in between the development of the main Heron romance, I think it's a good decision that more Heron series should implement. I do like how Jin in Seton Academy handles his heron. Granted, animal girls, but still fun to see him put Renka on a leash. Oh god, Seton Academy is another anime and manga that I have to watch and I have to talk to you guys sometime. Oh my god, that is awesome too. But for now, we'll focus on this. Heron anime are like a hidden talent, in my opinion. I completely agree. I don't know about that chief. He does shine, but he just more low key compared to others. At least he ain't competent, dense as a rock. Again, respectfully disagree and can definitely see your points. Was in response to me calling it slop. You should check out Milky Homes, though first seasons are great. Okay, okay. That arc was just fetish stuff, but we love. Yeah, that was just a trip, dude. And the fact that again, like I was talking about that both the characters and the things that are established in that arc continue on to affect other arcs. The consequences of that create new problems that need to be solved in other ways. That dude, that the fact that he made like uh essentially kink bait like breast milk kink bait breast milk focus chapter like be unironically one of the best and most entertaining one is just amazing, dude. It really is just amazing. Other than that, I also really enjoy the relationships that the female characters have with each other. Not only like are there further in the manga lesbian relationships that are shown between like human girls and monster girls. It's not all like straight. It's mostly straight, and I do like that. But there are some like Yuri Tron here and there, and when it is, it's done well. But I'm just mostly referring to actually the friendships that they develop. Papi especially with not only Sue but um, like the vampire girl that's introduced later into the series. That vampire girl with other more vampiric species, like the relationship they develop and the group that they kind of form is pretty cool. Obviously, there's the whole conflict that Rhaenyra has with her own family, Pseudo Centauria. And again, they, especially Centauria, does get a lot of other Centaur and Centaur adjacent friends. And I don't think. Oh no, actually, Mia does get a pretty cute arc where she develops a friendship with a fox girl. And the fox girl is also goated. I really love the fox girl arc. And it's really cool that Mia that had a payoff for Mia, because to make a long story short, later on in the manga, pretty much every girl, yes, even Papi, gets a job, right, in order to help with like the ever growing costs for the protagonist of maintaining the monster girls. And every single one of them gets a job except for Mia. And so um uh, even the other girls call her out and say that she's a bun, that she's a parasite, that she's living off her darling instead of helping. And so she's kind of shamed into getting a job, and that transforms into a whole arc with the fox girl that results in her, like Mia, being admitted as a like official Miko, right? And um yeah, that was just really cool. Again, I really liked that arc. What else? I think there's a separate manga light novel about them getting jobs. I didn't know that, but I'll research it later, because yeah, that kind of occurs off screen out of nowhere. So the fact that he did that in a separate story kind of explains what is more left to interpretation in the actual manga. So it's pretty cool to know that. Mia housewife mode. No, not even that. She doesn't help around the house or anything like that. That's exactly why she's shamed. Because she doesn't help around the house and she doesn't have a job. She just lazes around all day. So relatable. But anyway. What else? What else? Yeah, that's kind of why I prepared um other anime to talk about, because I knew that even though we did talk about a lot of cool things about Monster Musume, that it alone couldn't carry the whole stream. But another thing I will say is that, like, I really like some specific arcs, and if you are all comfortable sharing, I like to know uh like which arcs of the manga you guys particularly like, while I list my own, and then we'll talk about them. Uh, Again, this whole stream is spoilers, so don't complain about that, please. And for now, let's go. One arc I really like is when they discover other slimes, like Sue. Like Sue kind of unwittingly, like unknowingly, ends up making a lot of other slimes out of herself, and they have to deal with that two separate times. In fact, um, there's a slime that becomes like a giant monster that almost kills Sue due to a couple of events in the story, and there's a whole infestation of slimes that occurs during the onsen arc, and that they need to deal with as well. And it ends up with all of them pretty much working, like beginning to work, all these other slimes beginning to work at the onsen. Uh, Out of the blue, which length do you think a Heron manga should end? Recently reread Negima, Goat Heron, but by god, it's so fucking long that that I lost half the plot by the half points. It's difficult to say because like a lot of these series like realistically could end at any point, because for example imagine if after the anime the girls just confront the protagonist and say, no, no, you have to choose one of us, the situation can't continue and you're going to need to we're going to give you an ultimatum. And then he has a whole arc thinking about like which girls he likes more. He goes on dates, he reminisces on like various good moments that they had together, and then at the end he chooses Mia because of course he's going to choose Mia. And like the manga ends. Like, unfortunately, that's a thing you could say about pretty much every heroine of this kind, since the whole point is for like new female characters to be introduced, so that they can have arcs based around them, which result in like then either completing their story and fading into the background, or I'm talking generally in like heron terms. Monster Musume is different, as we talked about, but either that or becoming a heron member. Due to the nature of these kinds of series, they can pretty much end at any point. Like, let's be real, Data Live could end like on the next arc. Like after season 5, they could just do a whole arc kind of wrapping up the mysteries. Then we can do the whole thing where like they confront the protagonist and force him to choose, and then end it there. Like it's not difficult to end a horror series of this type. So it's difficult to tell because they are kind of meant to go on forever. Like the very structure allows them to do this. And so to like give a definitive number of how long should they be, I I can't tell you that. I don't think there's a like legitimate answer to that. You know, my favorite arc was with Mia's mother trying to take the MC to Lamia's land country. Maybe this will be a bit of a spoiler to you, but after that arc, she tries to do that again and is actually successful, and they have a whole arc in the actual Lamia country, right? With the whole like conflict that they have because of their traditions and the whole monster exchange system and how they perceive love. It's actually kind of a really interesting arc, because that's another thing. They often not only explore the biological differences and the circumstances of particular monster girls, but they also explore the kind of culture that they have, especially with the main girls. Like we discover that slimes pretty much have no culture, no civilization. That they kind of are just pretty much animals. They can uh, like develop to a human consciousness, but they generally are more isolated. So they haven't really built a civilization of their own. We learned that Papi and her species, the harpies, for example, are migratory species. So they have a culture and they do have a civilization, but they're not very technologically advanced because they're still in that hunter-gatherer sort of mentality that um, like always moving sort of mentality. They don't fix themselves in a place and kind of make it civilization, you know? The Lamias do have a interesting civilization, and it's kind of interesting with the Lamias and the Arachne especially because they're both female only species. So it's actually kind of explained in the manga that they used to go out to the human world before they formally introduced themselves. They used to sneak out into the human world and kind of what my ass actually. They straight up just captured human men in order to grape them, in order to make children. So the whole pact that they established, one of the reasons was exactly that humans noticed that and asked the species, "Hey, please don't do that, or we'll use our advanced weapons to fill you with holes." And obviously, given that they are like most monster species aren't as technologically advanced as humans, despite their um like human-like intelligence. So despite their like superhuman abilities, they kind of get have to concede to that. God, I wish that. God damn it, dude. No, no, that. God damn it. The Centaur's love process is just NTR. Yeah, actually, we can talk about that. Yeah, no, I'll leave that at the end. But the most advanced like monster species I think we see are exactly the mermaids, which have constructed a whole like actual monarchy, like a royalty, and they're pretty much a medieval kingdom. And the centaurs, like a fish said, no, they don't love ugly bastards. The whole point is that the male centaurs, due to being like more geared towards war, like the whole species is kind of honor of the knights, like a warrior species, very combat and honor centric species, right? That's more or less how their culture is based around. But the males, especially, were so geared towards war that, yeah, they kind of all became ugly bastards. So there was a huge decline in the centaur population because the woman literally like did not want anything to do with them. um, so what they created was this system in which they would essentially get a human to excite the female centaur so that the male who couldn't do that uh, was then able to reproduce with her. Like they get the human male that's actually pretty to actually get her in the mood, and then we have the male centaur that's not pretty to do the whole uh, like breeding process, the actual breeding process. Though what the centaurs discovered to the like, I'm guessing to the misfortune, yeah, that's the word I was looking for, to the misfortune of the male centaurs is that they can actually just skip the middleman and just have the female centaurs date a human, and who would have thought the actual offspring of that is just a full-on centaur that uh, meaning that they really don't need the male centaurs. And this whole fucking process just to go with the human. And that's the case for a lot of species too. A lot of species that do have males to them that aren't female centric, like the mermaids, for example, their males are so ugly that it is explained that they also, for the most part, don't fall in love with them and try to get a human partner instead. Humans are pretty much the only species with males that are in any way attractive. Oh wow, I wonder why. um, and so that occurs a lot throughout the series, which is why, uh, with the onsens, for example, that whole arc is based around the fact that there are many female monsters that want a human male partner. And so they have various processes in order to kind of get the two together. They have various legal processes made by the government or by corporations. They have an onsen like establishment with what's the name, with a whole process that allows the two of them to meet and to establish like these couples, right? There's a whole arc where like magic like is introduced in the form of the grimoire girl, who pretty much just captures a bunch of people and puts them in their own like romance stories, and it goes actually so well that even when they escape that fantasy world, the couples that were formed there continue on to real life. So it's really interesting to see how the world not only starts but develops, because these are things that start happening throughout the series. At some point, the whole law of humans not being able to like make love to the monster girls is kind of dropped, which is really cool. Really cool development. More like organizations start getting again into the whole uh, monster couple, monster human couple, because they uh, again, various institutions began to realize how important and lucrative and like widespread the need is. We start to see as the series goes on, like relationships between humans and monsters become more and more common. Like you can even see that in the background as the series progresses. There are whole conventions based around that. It's just really interesting. And it's also established at some point that obviously the monsters want to be of service. They want to use their actual unique abilities to help and integrate into human civilization. And so there, it's established that there are whole companies that specialize in using these monster girl like specific abilities in order to like progress human civilization in different ways. There are, for example, uh, Sue's mother is what's called an Undine or water goddess, and she is used to essentially make a water park that whose costs of maintenance are pretty much none, right? Since she can just control all the water-based things and like implement the different types of pools with her powers is really cool. We also have whole industries that are established to use various fluids like milk from the cowgirls or uh, like honey from the bee girls, and to make products out of that. Like centaurs, centaurs, no, unicorn horns are very potent material that a lot of them sell for money to humans, right? And so it's really cool to see not only like the treatment, Monster Musume's treatment of characters is really cool, but its world building and world development is also really cool. And that's, I think, one of the main strengths of that manga. I also remember the pig guys. I understand their frustration, but they went too far. Oh no, those guys aren't like in any way um like justified. They deserve everything they got. No way. I'm not justifying any of their actions. What else? Oh yeah, that's also a pretty cool thing. Well, cool in a sense of good storytelling, in the sense that they like establish that there are bad parts to the whole system of human uh, like monster relationships, of these monsters essentially migrating and trying to integrate into human society, and that a lot of these integrations are made illegally, and a lot of them includes like human, or in this case monster girl trafficking. And so there are whole institutions, both again from the government and from corporations, that specialize with dealing with these like criminal organizations that try to actually exploit the monster girls, because it's explained, and those are two elements that I'm going to talk about that I really like. Uh, to combat them, essentially, right? One of which was introduced in the anime, which was Mon, like it's spelled MON, just so we're clear. And yeah, there are more organizations like that that are introduced throughout the course of the manga. And one thing that's interesting is to see that there are both nice humans who also aid with the monsters in like helping to stop these criminals, and there are also monsters who seek to exploit other monsters. So it's not one of those like pretentious series of, oh, the real monsters are the humans. No, there are monstrous humans and monstrous monsters. Like there's evil everywhere, and that's really cool to see. Also, sorry for that. Hello, Kodokurasu. Sorry for taking so long to respond to you. The males ain't ugly, they're just fish. Dude, have you ever seen a pretty fish? If you have, I'm very concerned for you. But anyway, a fish. The writer's thinly veiled kink. To be honest, that's the whole manga law. Yeah. Pretty sure the Negima author also self-sabotaged the manga to prevent the authorial rights being taken from him. The story kind of continues in UK holder, but that manga is kind of a mixed bag. Uh, anyway, what else do I want to do? Oh yeah, the treatment of corporations. I really like that. Like the manga Monster Musume doesn't glaze over corporations, but it doesn't represent like Dan has been completely evil either. In fact, remember when I said about the whole services of monsters, like trying to defend other monsters from criminal organizations, etc. A lot of those monsters, like they join the private sector exactly because it pays better. So there's a whole story of the government entity of becoming understaffed because pretty much everyone just wants to work for the corporation because they want a bigger salary than the government gives them, right? Um, and the corporation itself, it fucks up. It does some things that aren't very moral or ethical. Its whole process is kind of shady, and like they fuck up a lot. But again, it's not just a whole corporations are evil kind of thing. It introduces then has another entity alongside with the government. Just like in the real world, they have their flaws and their good points as well, and so does the government. And so it's a really cool way that they tackled corporations, of both showing that they're not this like ultimate evil that's just exploiting the monster girls, far from it, but they're also not infallible or like the author isn't some hidden capitalist glazing over mega corporations. No, they fuck up a lot too. Also, I really like the character that kind of owns that mega corporation that seeks to. It's one of the main corporations that tries to make use of the monster's unique abilities. Because that dude is just so fucking charismatic, man. I could have a whole manga with him as the protagonist having his own harem. That dude is like, dude, that dude is the man. But anyway, with that, did we cover everything? Let's see. We wouldn't have Momusu without Momusu Quest 2. Actually, called Monster Girl Quest, but I think the Japanese name being pretty much the same with Quest added is funny. That's a like I can see how one inspired the other, but personally, I don't want to get into that whole can of worms because Monster Girl Quest, and especially like if you include Paradox and stuff like that, it's such a massive series to cover that I feel like if at any point we tackle it, it deserves it being tackled in its own episode of this kind of series. It deserves dedicated attention, I think. So we aren't going to tackle that. But again, what else? What else? Oh yeah. Right now in the manga, we're in kind of a mystery arc where we're investigating some criminal activity that does involve the monster girls, and it pretty much is going at least like the other criminal arc with the whole like very, what would be the name, the dangerous monster girls, the dangerous species that are introduced in, I think, the very next arc after the anime, where they just discover that every single species like is not that bad, but they are causing problems due to, like, they are causing various problems due to their specific biology. And seeing that and seeing how uh, this is being solved, how like these problems are actually occurring and that they're not that serious as they appear at at first glance, and that they can be solved peacefully because those girls aren't as bad as like most are led to believe. Like, again, this has been done before, even within the manga of Monster Musume, but it's still really cool what they're doing. Is resulting in some of the like most entertaining arcs so far, I think. Well, now that I think about it, is there some other monster girls that didn't appear in Monster Musume yet? Oh, tons of them. Like, I don't want to spoil things, but I've been researching that for, again, a more in-depth video, and there are various like monster species that haven't appeared in Monster Musume yet. Like they were, I think a guy was saying there was at some point a Monster Musume gacha game, and it introduces so many new species that are neither in the anime, manga, or the light novels. And even like taking that into consideration, there are so many monster girls that doesn't tackle. Like, for example, uh what is it, goblins. Like, there are no goblin woman in Monster Musume, for example. you know what's another one that's interesting? I'm pretty sure that there aren't any ghosts, like ghost girls in Monster Musume, like either in the anime or the manga. Like, there is one kinda ghost that appears in one arc with a vampire girl, but they haven't been formally introduced as a species with their own arc and like defining character or anything like that. No, Monster Musume does not have robots yet, and that's another species that still needs to be added. Which one? There was an old life scene one that went out of service, and now there's a pay to win idol game. I just knew that there was a like gacha game because, again, I discovered that during my research. Though I just know that it exists. I don't know like exactly what it entails. I'm sorry. But with that, I think we covered everything, right? I think we tackled a whole bunch of like interesting stuff that Monster Musume does. So I'm going to uh, like I'm going to go solve important issue that is like I'm being called to tackle right now. And you can, if you can think of other interesting subjects to talk about with in regards to Monster Musume, you can tell me in the comments. In the meantime, but if not, we're going to go to the other anime I wanted to cover. there's one Reaper with a removable head. I think they, I think the Dullahan is more of a zombie fisher. Did they ever explore Doppel's nature more in the manga? To be honest, I don't remember quite well. Technically, they're not a zombie, more quite literally a version of death themselves. I think that's more like Lala's Shuni showing because there's an arc where she even tries to pretend like to have that power, and it just turns out that she used like a substance to achieve the effect that she wanted, which is that she turned a little girl into a zombie because there was no other way to cure her. It was one of those like depressing chapters about terminal illness and stuff. They do have a connection with death, so much that at some point this nature is explored when the protagonist, for example, sees Lala when he is in one of his many times being close to death, right? So they do kind of have a connection, but it's mostly like tenuous and fueled by Lala's tuning. So they're not really parts of death itself, I don't think, at least. Uh, did they ever explore Doppel's nature more in the manga? They just kind of hint at her being like some type of eldritch horror, but like actual exploration, like trying to more or less define or like add details to her backstory or the powers, the precise powers of her species. Like, no, they haven't explored that yet. And one very sad thing about Monster Musume is that it's not being released very consistently anymore. The author kind of doesn't want to like continue, or at least doesn't want to continue the manga professionally. He chose to like go do different things. He still publishes like occasionally, but it's definitely the kind of manga like Berserk, right? Where you wait for a couple of weeks. Oh, there's a chapter. Wait for a couple of weeks. Oh, there's another chapter. And then 6 months fucking later, there's another chapter. No, it's not in hiatus. It's just that the author switched to a less like consistent release schedule. Like he's not releasing it weekly or even monthly or bi-weekly anymore. He just releases a chapter whenever he wants, essentially, is what I mean. Now what else? First, let's tackle some of. I think there's 17 volumes in total, if I remember correctly. I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that number is correct. What else? What else? Oh, yeah. Let's since you didn't bring up any other interesting like topics to discuss about Monster Musume like specifically, let's talk about some of the other anime I've been seeing. He went PewDiePie. Yeah, pretty much. Uh yeah, I've been rewatching Chaos Head, which is another anime I want to discuss, as well as a visual novel I want to play for the channel. Oh my god, why did you remind me of Prelia? Oh my god, that thing is another can of worms in terms of that. Oh my god. Anyway, oh god, I just got sad now. But I've been like watching both I've been rewatching Chaos Heads and Excel World, right? And I'm going to talk about it more on a members video, but since I don't want that content to be just exclusive to the members, I don't want to be like, hey, you want to hear about that? Pay me. Like, no. I'll just tackle the part that's relevant of that video right now, and that God damn, the protagonist of Chaos Head is way more of a dickhead than I remember. I remember him being like a coward, really about. It's Prisma Ilia. It's like the manga where Ilia becomes a magical girl, like the Ilia from Fate, you know? And if you don't know what any of that is, then go research on your own because, again, that's a whole can of worms that definitely deserves its own video, its own dedicated video, if you want me to explain that specifically. But anyway, what else? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. The protagonist of Chaos Head is just a like massive dickhead, man. Like the dude has an actual friend, you know, like an actual friend that cares about him and that wants to talk with him. He does not care at all. Like he barely even acknowledges that dude's existence, even though he's quite a nice fellow. He has a sister and a family that legitimately loves him and want the best for him, and he couldn't care less. He just wants them gone from his life, except from the money they give him. Right? Like that dude is just a complete dickhead. Like very like absolute a bastard, you know. And again, I remember him being a coward. I remember him running away and kind of being a weak protagonist, but I don't remember him being that bad, you know. So that was quite the interesting realization from rewatching that. Uh, I've been rewatching to like Excel Worlds, which is that other like light novel that the author from Sword Art Online released, and it's much more interesting than Sword Art Online, but that's not exactly a uh like high bar to clear. But still, I've been liking it a lot. And the reason I dropped it initially wasn't because I disliked it. Like I, you know those anime that you start watching and that you're really like excited about, that you're really liking, but some bullshit goes on in your life and you like have to pause it for like you have to stop watching or stop reading for like a couple of weeks and then you don't feel like coming back. Yeah, that happened to me with like Excel World. I really liked that. I was watching I was pretty much binging the series up until episode 8, and then I remember I had like an assignment from school and I couldn't focus on that anime for a couple of weeks, and then I didn't feel like restarting it, and now I am a couple of years later. But yeah, I'm really liking Excel World too, and this happened unfortunately with Zombieland Saga. Pretty much the same thing. It's just sad when it occurs. Let's see some comments. How do you feel about Heron Age compared to Heron Ecchi? Recently reread Imaizumi brings all the Gyarus to his house, age version, and I can't enjoy it as much as the manga version. I'll be honest, whenever there's an ecchi version and an H version of something, I generally prefer the manga version. Because H, like, they generally have to like contrive some reason, even more contrived than the HCs. They have to contrive a reason to have an H scene, and they're generally allowed to tell much smaller stories. They're much more uh like restricted in what they can do due to the like restrictions of pages and of time that they're allowed to dedicate. And so yeah, I generally prefer Herenechi to Herenage too, due to those reasons. I was joking about the Prisma Elia release schedule. We get like 2 or 3 chapters per year. Why did you have to remind me of that? Oh god. The Chaos Child has a much nicer protagonist, but even he has his mental breakdown moments too. No, the mental breakdown moments are I don't have an issue with. I'm talking about him just being like an actual dick to pretty much everyone around him that isn't 2D, you know? Like the only person he hasn't been a dick to now that I've seen is like a girl, and that's because he thinks that like she's into him. So he's pretty much just thinking with his dick. But anyway, I just can't get over how the second Excel opening sounds like it's an ad trying to sell me a Wi-Fi modem. No, he's talking about Dragon Maid. Like, it's just that he sometimes like he often has typos in his comments. Yeah, pretty much that's his situation. And to that comment, like, who hasn't heard the Dragon Maid dude? Like, it's hugely popular and it's hugely popular for a reason. Uh, I think I said that in a members video too. Like, a lot of people complain about the second season because it's not as good as the first one. And I'm like, yeah, it's not a 10 out of 10, but it's still like a 9.5 out of 10. So shut the fuck up. Like, it's one of those cases where pedantically they're right, but you need to be so like far up your ass to even consider that an argument, man. But anyway, aside from that, have you seen like the new anime movies that have come out? Like Chainsaw Man and the whole like Demon Slayer movie. I watched it with my family because I'll be honest, it's kind of a surreal experience to think that anime is so popular right now that I can go to an actual cinema to watch it. And it's not even, yeah, he meant made. Um and it's not even like the popular shonen like normie type stuff like Demon Slayer. Even something like outwardly perverted and weird like Chainsaw Man is being shown in movies like in my country. So that's pretty surreal. And I saw a lot of people like complaining about two things. One, that the Chainsaw Man movie like has is like over sexualized because Reze it she fights in her panties like for most of the anime. A lot of people were saying like, "Oh, was that necessary?" And every time I see those kinds of comments, "Oh, was that fan service necessary?" The only thing I can think of is like, yeah, it was really necessary, and like I enjoyed it a lot. um, what else? Oh, the Demon Slayer movie too. Like a lot of people were like those complaints for the Demon Slayer movie were more valid, and that is because um what else? That is because like that movie is pretty much 50% flashbacks. Like there's a particularly egregious flashback that lasts for minutes on end from one of the demons, right? And a lot of people are complaining about that. Now, I didn't mind that too much, but I definitely understand their complaints a lot more. Because that movie is kind of made for a person like me who has never actually watched Demon Slayer. Like, even if you never watched Demon Slayer, you'll be able to enjoy the movie because it's that, like, noob friendly. You know? So like to me that was a good thing because otherwise I wouldn't care about any of those characters, but I can understand why an actual fan would be super pissed. So yeah, I definitely like understand those complaints a lot more. In general, though, in terms of like general quality, I really liked both movies. They were both beautifully animated, especially Chainsaw Man, and uh, they were just fantastic adaptations. Obviously, I can't tell too much with Demon Slayer since I never experienced that before, but I can tell that as an adaptation of the Reze arc, that movie was fantastic. Like it's always difficult to adapt a whole arc into a movie, you know, especially when it's such a long arc. But they did a fantastic job. I loved it. But anyway, they are selling a lot. Yeah, yeah, they are. uh, like they're really popular, man, especially Demon Slayer. But when you like see the kind of uh I I can only describe it as like a scene made in literal hell that are most western movies nowadays, you kind of understand why these are selling like hotcakes. they're pretty much some of the only good movies like going on right now. Anyway, so yeah, I do kind of understand that. Let's read some comments. I just found the most controversial anime game ever to exist is a game involving a school. Is it just School Days? Uh, Aficia says, I remember seeing Dragon Ball KFC ad. No, but Dragon Ball uh, was pretty much the normie anime, you know? So seeing Dragon Ball movies in theaters isn't too like surprising, or even like a One Piece movie on theaters. But seeing an especially not just Demon Slayer because that's also kind of normie, but like Chainsaw Man, like a anime has niche, has Chainsaw Man getting to be shown in movie theater, especially of my country, not just of like the United States or of other European countries, but it being as far reaching as to be shown in theaters in Brazil, like that's pretty surreal. That's what I mean. Wow, that's just evil. I think you're talking about the flashback stuff, and yeah, I agree. Like rationally, because again, I kind of needed that, and I do understand that they were making that movie kind of for people like me. But yeah, for people that actually watch the anime and follow the story, like that really was just evil. Twitter people need to actually go outside, yes. Which anime you watch that has the most flashbacks, not counting Naruto? The Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains anime has like five. I'm not, because most of the animes that have a lot of flashbacks are their long running like battle shonens, right? And I kind of stopped watching those, so I haven't seen too many flashbacks, at least in the anime I have watched. So I couldn't tell you. Generally, when an anime has enough episodes and enough filler to have that many flashbacks, that's an anime I don't even start watching. So yeah. Yeah, probably because the movies we have here are either pretty bad or about something idiotic. Like, I'm not living meaninglessly. Yeah, I agree. We need a new anime about monster girls of variated species, that we do. And what else did I have set up? Mm, yeah, no, that was pretty much it, actually. Like, I think I talked about every single anime I wanted to cover, at least in this first episode. Like every single anime I'm currently watching right now, every single anime I've like did a deep dive in, like with Monster Musume, and had a lot to talk about. This was just a good episode to kind of tackle like what the channel's supposed to be about, which is anime, you know? Interviews with Monster Girls was cute, very much so. Like Senton Academy interviews with Monster Girls, like what's the name of that one? Uh, Interspecies reviewers, Monster Musume, and even that other one that was kind of trashy about like animal people fighting, right? Like pretty much Monster Girl anime in general is very good. A Centaur's Life too. That one was also kind of trashy, but it was still cool. So yeah, we really do need more Monster Girl anime. The closest thing we have right now is Uma Musume, but that's just one monster species. We need more. Kind of more family friendly and more realistic Monster Girl anime. I don't know what you mean by that. I didn't see anything particularly more realistic than Monster Musume, because for the most part, Monster Musume doesn't even have magic, but like of any kind. But yeah, I do agree that it tends more on the cuter side. Good night, y'all. It's 3:15 a.m. here, and I got classes at 6. So yeah, peace. Oh yeah, please go to sleep. You contributed quite enough to the stream. You deserve it. Man, thinking about it, pure battle shonen have basically been extinct. Have they? Uh, like Demon Slayer is pretty much very like pure battle shonen. So I don't know what you're talking about. One Piece is still running. We still have JoJo running as well. So yeah, I don't know if I agree with that take. We still have new series of Dragon Ball to this day too, and the author is like 6 feet under. So I really don't I really don't agree with you on that. But yeah, this whole podcast, this whole episode, this whole stream was kind of to actually tackle what this channel was originally supposed to be about. It was more like it was a stream to give me a kind of an excuse to actually talk about what I uh, originally created this channel for, which is like actually discussing anime, you know. So yeah, it was pretty cool getting to do that, and it was pretty cool that we had such a good attendance rate. Like a lot of people came to the stream, a lot of people that I hadn't even seen on other streams, and you participated a lot, you commented a lot. So I really liked the stream. Really, again, like that I got to do a stream about the content that the channel was supposed to be about, and like I really do hope to do more of these in the future. And I don't think most of my members are here, but you, the members that are, we actually are going to. This is actually going to be the subject of the next members poll. Like where you will actually get to decide, like which anime I'll be watching and covering, kind of like in this way. Um, like in the next stream of this type. So yeah, that's what the next poll is going to be about. And I really appreciate like again both your attendance and participation, the fact that you watched most of you watched a huge portion of the stream. Really like doing it and really like hope to do more of this in the future. But for now, I think I'll get going. I'll just read a few comments and then I think it's a good time to end stream. Not really extinct. That's nostalgic rose tinted glasses talking, I think, Geronimo. There is a Monster Girl manga or novel you want to see animated? Any, not Antlaw. Maybe I just feel like the new battle shonen are way too different compared to the old ones. Oh yeah, there's definitely been a change. Like new battle shonen like Jujutsu Kaisen and like Chainsaw Man and even like things like Demon Slayer and uh, even like My Hero Academia right now, which tend more to like the hopeful. A lot of even battle shonen have become a lot more depressive and dark. So I can definitely tell we don't have that like enthusiasm and energy and innocence that we had before. So I do understand. But for now, again, like I said, we'll be ending things today. Thank you all for participating, and I do hope you attend the next one, which is probably going to be uh, a couple of weeks from now. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. Hope you did as well. Good